here, overview of Putra Perdana Construction Sdn Bhd. Putra Perdana Construction Sdn Bhd or PPC is a leading Malaysian building construction company established in 1986 and headquartered in Selangor. It operates as a key subsidiary of Putrajaya Perdana Bhd or PBB Group and has built a strong reputation for delivering high quality, sustainable and timely construction projects. Over the years, PPC has successfully completed projects worth over RM 9 billion, ranging from luxury condominiums and office towers to government buildings and green certified developments. The company is known for pioneering environmentally friendly construction practices in Malaysia, often incorporating Green Building Index, which is GBI, standards into its projects. Its client base includes major property developers, private corporations, and public sector agencies. PPC's key strengths lie in its expertise in fast-track and design and build construction, its use of modern technologies, and its strong commitment to occupational safety and health OSH compliance across all work sites.
Hazard identification, specifically in the context of working at height on a construction site like Putra Perdana Construction. Physical hazards. What are physical hazards? So, physical hazards are the most common on construction sites and pose immediate safety risk. Example 1 is falling from height. This occurs when workers perform tasks on scaffolding or elevated platforms without proper fall protection. It remains the leading cause of injuries and fatalities in the construction industry. Open edges and ladders are also a factor in causing falling from height hazard. For example 2, 3, and 4, we have falling objects. Falling objects are basically tools or materials falling from above and striking workers below. Objects like tools or materials, especially dangerous ones, can pose a risk for workers that are not wearing helmets or if materials are not properly secured. The next one, electric shock. Electric shock is basically any overhead powers, lines, exposed wirings that can cause electric shock hazard. Workers may come into contact with exposed live wires or faulty equipment, especially when working near temporary wire, ring, or metal scaffolds. This can lead to severe burns or fatal shocks. It can also cause fire on buildings, basically. The next one, inadequate lighting. Inadequate lighting means poor lighting conditions, particularly in enclosed space or during early and late hours. It can result to missteps or incorrect handling of tools and materials. Chemical hazard may not be as harmful or immediately visible in the start, but it can just be as harmful as other categories. The only example that can be found by us conducting a research here is silica and dust exposure. Activities like grinding, cutting, or drilling can generate dust, including silica, which can be inhaled. Long-term exposure may lead to respiratory disease such as silicosis or chronic bronchitis. Last but not least, we have ergonomic hazard, which affect the way the body interacts with tools, equipment, and protective gears. So for this, we only have one example, which is lack of PPE. Lack of PPE basically just means wearing ill-fitting or missing personal protective equipment. Without proper helmets, gloves, harnesses, or boots, workers are exposed to both discomfort and injury, especially during extended tasks or in high-risk zones. Example of this is worker on a boom lift without a harness for lack of PPE.
Now, I will explain the risk component in the Hirarc process. In industrial safety, risk refers to the likelihood of a hazard causing harm and the severity of the outcome. For example, even a simple hazard like uneven ground can lead to serious injury if left uncontrolled. Let's look at common hazards and their associated risks at Putra Perdana construction sites. Number 1. Working at height. This carries a high risk of falling, which could lead to serious injury or death. Number 2. Excavation work, which could lead to trench collapse, potentially trapping workers underground. Number 3. Electrical installation work, which risks electrocution from exposed wiring. Now, let's look at the 5x5 risk matrix, which is used in the Hirarc method to evaluate risk level. The horizontal axis shows the severity of the hazard from level 1, which is insignificant, to level 5, which is death. The vertical axis shows the likelihood of that hazard happening from level 1 rare to level 5 certain. To calculate the level of risk, we multiply the severity and the likelihood scores. For example, in a construction site activity like working at height, the severity is rated as 5 because a fall could cause death. The likelihood is rated as 4 because it's quite possible during scaffolding or tower work. So the calculation is 5 multiple 4 equals 20. This falls under the red zone, which means the risk is high and requires immediate control action. This metric helps safety supervisor decide which hazards must be prioritized to protect workers on site. To conclude this section, this assessment plays a vital role in ensuring a safe construction environment. Firstly, it prepares the site for safer operations by identifying and evaluate potential dangers before any work begins. Secondly, it helps prioritize control actions, meaning the most dangerous tasks will be managed first using proper safety measures. And most importantly, risk assessment is critical to ensure worker safety. It helps to prevent injuries, protect life, and support a strong safety culture at the workplace.
Hazard effect in construction sites. Construction sites are engines of progress, but also hot zones of hazard. Without proper safety, small mistake can lead to big consequences. Construction is risky by nature. Heavy machinery, heat, electricity, also sharp tools. Hazards don't just affect health, they can mess up budgets, timelines, and even lives. In this video, I focus on the effects when hazards are not handled right. Hazard on construction site can give health effect on workers. Firstly, physical injuries like fractures, burns, sprains, and cuts. Second is long-term illness like asthma, hearing loss, back pain, and skin disease. And third is mental stress like mental exhaustion, PTSD, and anxiety. But not just stop there. The hazard also not just give health effect on workers, but also financial impact, especially to company like medical costs, insurance claim, compensation payout, and the project get delayed. Hazard hit wallets hard. A single incident can lead to huge medical bills, liabilities, and lawsuits. The cost of prevention is always cheaper. Thirdly, the impact for construction site is a legal and reputation damage, especially for the company. The legal action and fine will take to the company by the magistrate. The license gets suspicion, public backlash, and harder to get new contract. And the fourth is a psychological effect on workers. The workers will feel fear to returning to work, anxiety around machinery, and survivor feel guilt if their coworker are guilt. The conclusion, the impact of hazard is real. First is the hazard affect more than just physical health, but they hit finances, time, moral, and reputation. Injuries lead to project delays, legal issues, and massive financial loss. And next is mental health effects like trauma and fear, reduce worker productivity, and unsafe environment damage a company image and future contracts. Prevention through safety training and awareness is the best long-term solution. Okay, it's all for me.
Safety control measures used to reduce risk at the construction site. These are engineering controls, administrative controls, and personal protective equipment or PPE. First, engineering controls are methods that eliminate or reduce hazards by changing the equipment or physical environment. For example, installing guardrails to prevent falls, using machine guards to avoid contact with moving parts, and providing proper ventilation to remove dust and toxic fumes. These are considered the most effective because they deal with the hazard directly at the source. Second, administrative control refers to procedure or work policies that reduce exposure to hazards by changing how tasks are performed. This includes implementing permit to work systems, posting warning signs, conducting safety briefing, and rotating workers to avoid fatigue. However, this control relies heavily on human behavior and compliance, so it is slightly less effective than engineering controls. Lastly, personal protective equipment or PPE is the equipment worn by workers to protect themselves from remaining hazards. This includes helmets, gloves, safety boots, goggles, and high visibility vests. PPE acts as the last line of defense when hazards cannot be completely eliminated through other controls. Workers must be trained to wear and use PPE properly for it to be effective.
I'm Iman and I'll be explaining the conclusion. To conclude this presentation, it is important to remember one key message, which is construction sites are high-risk environments. Hazards like falling from heights, electrical exposure, or inhaling harmful dust are not rare. They happen every day and their consequences can be devastating. But the impact of this hazard doesn't just stop at the physical injuries. When an accident happens, the effect ripples through everything. Workers would suffer emotionally, families are affected, projects are delayed, company loses money, and reputation are damaged. That's why control measures are not just safety features, they are life-saving strategies where engineering would control and reduces risk at the source. The administrative controls guide safe work practice. The PPE gives workers the protection they need when hazard can't be removed. Each of these play a critical role, but they only work when they are used together and be taken seriously. At the heart of safety construction site, it is one simple truth. Safety is everyone's responsibility. It doesn't just belong to the safety officer or the site supervisor. It belongs to every person who steps onto that work site. From management to workers, we must all stay alert, follow procedures, and protect one another. Because in the construction industry, one careless mistake could change a life forever. So let us choose prevention over regret. Let us commit to safety not just as rule, but as a value we uphold every single day. A safety site is not just a goal, it is the foundation of every successful project. That is all from me and my groups. Thank you.